What is going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. You're a returning subscriber as always, guys. Welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Guys, listen. Earlier today, news broke about a overnight airstrike that the U.S. carried out on Venezuela, in which during this military operation, they took the president of Venezuela into custody, Nicolas Maduro, and now he's over here in the United States. Now, when this news broke, it left a lot of people shocked, and this whole thing is crazy to me, and this is not a good look for America and the president. And I'm being honest. In that video I did, a lot of people was upset in the comment section. I don't deal with politics, but I still have a right to say what I feel. So if anybody don't like what I say, you can watch some fucking body else. On this channel, I pride myself in being honest with you and giving you my assessment on things I see about the world like everybody else. So I wanted to get that out the way, because I'm telling you, this is not a good look. And this right here could start something big. And I'm going to explain it to you. Now, early this morning, this man, Maduro, and his wife was taken into custody. They just recently landed in the United States in the past couple of hours, right? So they're in custody. That's one thing. The way this was carried out with the press conference, the president, I'm talking about Trump, on TV, talking about this and that, it's like, it's a bad look. Now, more information come out that Delcy Rodriguez Gomez, or whatever her name is the vice president of who's the vice president of Venezuela. She's demanding that he be returned. The rest of the world is watching, and it's not a good look. This is not diplomacy. This right here, it doesn't feel right. Something is up with this. Right after he took this man, he got on TV with a press conference and immediately said that they are going to run Venezuela until they can find a suitable replacement for after the wickedness and corruption of Nicolas Maduro. And they're also going to tap into the oil reserves while temporarily running the country. That is not good. Either way, take a look at what they got so far, and I'm gonna come back and give you my assessment. And you might not, if you really all into this politics shit, you might not want to hear what I got to say, but I'm gonna be real with y'all. Take a look at what they got.
So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
Breaking news tonight from President Donald Trump. The United States will run Venezuela, at least temporarily, after a bold and secretive military operation pulled leader Nicolas Maduro from power and removed him from the country. Americans and the world waking up to the news this morning, and this image of Maduro captured and restrained while on a plane headed for the U.S. The operation began as an airstrike on Venezuela's capital city of Caracas. The collateral damage on the ground still unknown tonight. Good evening, and thanks for joining us here on 3 News at 6. I'm Peter Fleischer. The U.S. attacking Venezuela early Saturday morning, carrying out military strikes, capturing President Maduro and his wife, and flying them out of the country. All this while President Trump and his team watched. The Maduros in New York right now. Their plane just landed, accused of narco-terrorism amid other charges. NBC's Chris Pallone has more.
Tonight, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is in New York in federal custody hours after a surprise early morning U.S. military raid on his compound in Caracas.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela.
The Pentagon says President Trump gave the order to arrest Maduro just before 11 Friday night. Troops from 20 military bases and 150 U.S. aircraft took part in the mission, which saw an elite strike force arrive at Maduro's compound around 1 this morning.
This mission was meticulously planned
drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years.
The president says with Maduro deposed, the U.S. will run Venezuela indefinitely.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves.
We're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground, and that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country.
Venezuelans around the world taking to the streets to celebrate the end of Maduro's reign.
Everybody's just happy because everybody has been waiting for democracy and change in Venezuela.
But on Capitol Hill, congressional Democrats and some Republicans are demanding answers from the Trump administration about why they were kept in the dark. Many calling the military mission illegal.
Now they're saying they were going to occupy a foreign country, we're going to run it from the United States, and that we're going to steal their oil. In what world did this administration get any of that permission ever for them to do that?
Secretary of State Marco Rubio said briefing Congress before the attack would have jeopardized the mission to get Maduro. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
This motherfucker's stupid. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you something. Motherfuckers get mad when you bring up Trump's name and all this other shit. This is why I don't really fuck around with this type of shit. But you gotta realize, man, if you think Venezuela was the sole reason or the majority of the reason for America's misery in the drug game, you are sadly mistaken. Let's keep it real. Now, I don't know Nicolas Maduro, but I do know he's a leader of a country. Just like Trump is the leader of this country. And it's certain things you do and do not do as far as diplomacy. Now, I'm going to tell you how this opens up a whole can of worms worldwide and how everybody looks at America side-eyed right now. Hear me if you will, folks. He done got back in office. The war on immigration. We got that going on right now. Now it's the war on drugs. Venezuela's in the crosshairs. You understand what I'm saying? You go over there, you done shut down the airways, you done shut down the flights. No flights can fly and all this other stuff a while ago. Right before this, he even took this guy this morning. Yesterday, news broke where the man said he's willing to talk to Trump, to the United States about the situation. He's willing to talk and have a discussion. That came and went right under the radar. They snatched the man the next day. It don't look good. We got the situation with ICE and all that stuff, turmoil in this country right now. Rampant violence all over the damn place. The immigration thing I can understand. You want to get people out that are not legally here and one's committing crimes and stuff like that. I understand that. I have no problem with that. But this affects everything else. You went over there and took a man out of his own country, kidnapped him out of his bed, fucked some shit up, snatched him. He's over here now. Right after that shit broke, I want you to just think about how this looks. Right after that broke, he got on TV, Trump, are we talking about? He got on TV, sat up there, talked about the mission and how it was, no serviceman was hurt, so on and so forth. You got the man and his wife over here. Now you're talking about, oh, we're going to run the country until further notice. You can't even run this motherfucking country. We got problems over here. You starting more shit. You understand what I'm saying? Then on top of that, how does this look to the rest of the world? World leaders chiming in about how fucked up it is. Go out and look, y'all. Look at the internet. How fucked up it is. Watch this. Now this gives China no excuse not to invade Taiwan, and the U.S. can't do shit about it or say shit about it. Because after this right here, this is some tyrannical bullshit. Let's call it out, y'all. For real. It's not right. It's not right. There are ways to negotiate with countries and stuff like this. This right here is far on the edge of the spectrum. You sitting up here trying to broker a fucking peace deal after Russia invaded Ukraine. How the fuck you think that's going to go over now? After you done did this. That's like telling people, hey, don't hit each other, and then you cheap shot somebody and knock them the fuck out and then take them with you. But you the bastion of peace, the voice of freedom, and all of this type of shit. Motherfuckers better wake up. Better wake up. This shit is not a good look for us. It's not, as a country. And he mentioned Canada. He mentioned Mexico. Oh yeah, drugs coming down. This motherfucker got on the radio today by a phone call, speaking to the media. He boasting about this shit. Yeah, you know, Canada too. You starting to name names after doing something as brutal as kidnapping a world country's leader. It's crazy. I'm gonna leave it at that, man. I don't really talk about this situation because motherfuckers get butthurt when you mention Trump's name and shit. But I mean, damn, enough is enough with the bullshit. Congress didn't even know he did that. How the fuck you do that where you can drop bombs and all this kind of shit and use military equipment and Congress don't know? Some of the people in the government was like, yo, we was in the dark. We didn't. Oh, we had to keep this quiet. So what, you got spies in this country in office? What you saying? Why I gotta be so secretive? See the game? This shit is not right, man. I'm telling you. Listen, I'm leaving out of here. Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Reason channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Or get off the channel if you're fucking butthurt because I mentioned Trump's name. Either way, this is what the Vice President of Venezuela said in regards to what has happened today. And this ain't making it no better. Take a look.
Moment by moment out of Venezuela, the de facto leader there has now for the first time appeared on camera, demanding the immediate release of Nicolas Maduro and his wife, calling their capture a kidnapping. Right now, meantime, Maduro, in that image you see him, it was posted by President Trump. He is on his way to the United States to face drug trafficking charges in the Southern District of New York. Meanwhile, the vice president of Venezuela, Maduro's vice president, her name is Delcy Rodriguez. She just spoke. We've got the audio in now. I want to play for you what she just said to Trump.
We demand the immediate release of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, the only president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Coming out against Trump. And that is extremely significant, not just because she saw what happened hours ago to the guy on top of her, but also because President Trump, about 2 hours before that video came out, said that Delcy Rodriguez was on board with the U.S. plan. He said that she was willing to do whatever is necessary to, in his words, make Venezuela great again, and that she was doing what he wanted. Here he is.
Who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro, and right now she's the vice president, and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco, and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice.
Okay, we'll do whatever you need, she said to Marco Rubio, and that she really doesn't have a choice. And she just said, this is a kidnapping and send him back, and essentially thumbing her nose at Trump. All right, Kevin Liptak joins us live from West Palm Beach, Florida. So the timeline, Kevin, is that Trump said what I just played, and then within 2 hours, we got the statement from Vice President Delcy Rodriguez of Venezuela, which I just played. So now we're awaiting Trump's response to that. What does this actually mean? You are there in Mar-a-Lago with the president. What's the response from him?
Yeah, and I don't think it will be a favorable response from the president. You know, he did sound fairly confident that Rodriguez would be going along with this plan. You know, after that press conference, he gave a phone call to the New York Post, and actually Rodriguez came up in that conversation. He was asked if U.S. troops would be on the ground in Venezuela running that country, and what he said was, quote, no, if Maduro's vice president, if the vice president does what we want, we won't have to do that. And then he goes on to say, we're prepared. You know, we have a second wave that's much bigger than the first one. And so I do think, you know, now that Rodriguez is coming out and suggesting that she is not, in fact, on board with what the United States is doing down there, the president does seem to be setting up the prospect that the U.S. could go in with a second round of strikes. You know, he alluded to that in his press conference. He said that perhaps he didn't think it would be necessary, but saying pretty explicitly that he was ready to order that if if the remnants of the Venezuelan regime didn't necessarily, accede to the U.S. Running the country, which is what he said they would be doing. I think all of this just underscores how little we know about what exactly the U.S. role is going to be in Venezuela going forward. After the president came out and really kind of shocked all of us by saying that we, the United States, in his words, would be running Venezuela, and then offered essentially no details about what that meant. This back and forth now between the president and the vice president of Venezuela only, I think, emphasizes how little we understand of how this will all proceed going forward. And now, of course, you hear the president suggesting that there could be a U.S. military role to ensure that the U.S. is able to run Venezuela. He said in that press conference he wasn't afraid of boots on the ground. When I followed up with him and asked, does he envision a prolonged U.S. military presence in that country, he didn't really answer, and he sort of pivoted to talking about the oil, which we know has been sort of a preoccupation of his in Venezuela. And so, this is all setting up quite a dramatic, I think, day or week ahead as the U.S. works to ascertain who exactly is claiming power in Venezuela and works to assert their own power that the president now suggests that the U.S. has in Caracas, but without necessarily explaining what exactly that looks like and what exactly that could mean for the U.S. military going forward.
Kevin Liptak, thank you very much in Palm Beach by Mar-a-Lago, where you were in that press conference with the president, an hour-long press conference, I should note. Let's go live now back to Caracas, where Mary Mina has been on the ground for us throughout the day. Mary, as you and I have been talking over these past almost 6 hours, you have been saying that the vice president had been calling in to state media, but state media was, essentially not really programming, that she had just called in. There was speculation that she had left the country, even gone to Moscow. But then it turns out she is in Venezuela, and she appears to be at the vice president's quarters, and she had this meeting, and she was flanked by all of the military and other power players, including the Interior Ministry, and she gives that defiant statement. What are you hearing from people? Do people buy it in Venezuela?
Well, we need to remember that Venezuelans are used to live under authoritarian regime, so there's fear in the streets that something could happen in the coming hours, either from the Trump administration that implied a second wave of attacks, or coming from the government itself and its supporters. So the immediate reaction of our regular Venezuelan is to stay at home, to stay locked at home, waiting for the developments that keep changing with every hour in Caracas. Many people have decided to go to supermarkets to stock for food because they don't know how many days or hours this could last. And also there are the calling from these loyalists to Nicolas Maduro saying they will not surrender. And that was a strong statement coming from the Venezuelan vice president, saying that they have the law behind them, and basically denying all the words that President Donald Trump said about her, talking with them, or making some sort of negotiations with the Trump administration. She says that they are calling for a strong response from the international community and from the people inside of Venezuela.
Now, Mary, obviously there's opposition. There's the fact that Nicolas Maduro actually wasn't the president. He was the de facto president. But it obviously someone had won that election in the summer of 2024. So there's a lot of breaks within the country on where people stand. But even in that context, Mary, where does Delcy Rodriguez stand? Does she have credibility? Does she have standing? Does she have any of those things coming into this?
Well, she's witnessed as a strong leader after Nicolas Maduro. She's been in several positions not only as a vice president, but in several ministers. She's been the selected one in case of Nicolas Maduro is out of power, as we are witnessing. Like what Hugo Chavez did in his time when he left for Cuba. He said, if something happened to me, you have to vote for Nicolas Maduro. Right now, we are learning that the multiple decisions taken by the government with the absence of Nicolas Maduro is to lead the country, the Venezuelan Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez. She is witnessed as a smart woman with knowledge in economics, but she's a strong leader. She's in charge, for example, the security forces that are detained more than 2,000 people over the past year in Venezuela after the presidential elections.
Well, and that's a significant point, as you point out, not just running the oil, but also running the security forces and what that might mean in terms of her ability to maintain their loyalty, which is going to be in such question here over these next hours and days. Mary, thank you very much. And we'll be checking in with Mary, of course, constantly here as our coverage continues.